And just moments from now, the House will finally be voting to renew funding for the 9/11 Victims' Compensation Fund after months, even years, of emotional pleas from September 11th first responders and their supporters. 9/11 first responder John Field and activist Jon Stewart were back on the Hill today for their climactic vote, which still has to pass Mitch McConnell's Senate after it gets past the House. Joining me now is Jon Stewart, 9/11 advocate, and John Field, a 9/11 first responder, an advocate who first started the Feel Good Foundation. John Field, we keep thanking you for everything you're doing, and the goal is in sight now. How do you feel today?
Not great, because the bill's going to get voted on in a couple minutes and it's going to get passed, but it's a shallow victory. Ask me this question next week when we get it through the Senate. Yeah, it's hard to celebrate when people are sick and dying. I've seen so much pain and suffering over the last 15 years. But the fact that I get to spend today, this historic day for many, with John, I feel better about that, because, you know, this is my whoopee, you know, and I don't go anywhere without it.
Well, you know, and I know this is bittersweet, and there's so much sadness. We're thinking, of course, of Lou Alvarez, Jon Stewart, who was here with you when you made your last public appeal to the Hill, to the Senate. Let's talk about Lou Alvarez and what we've lost here, as he represents so many.
Well, you know, Lou Alvarez, he decided to spend literally the last week of his life fighting for his brothers and sisters to get them the same compensation and their families that he had received. And it doesn't, you know, the thing to remember about this is it doesn't alleviate the pain and suffering that they go through. It just takes away that extra burdensome layer on the families that never should have been there in the first place. So it is in no way a panacea. It doesn't alleviate anything. But, you know, Lou was down here because he wanted his legacy in his final days to be that he went down swinging. You know, that's what a lot of these men and women are like. They are people that are drawn to service. And even in their final days, they continue that mission because they want to see the job done. And, you know, John Field has given 15 years of his life, half a foot and his kidney, to this cause. And it's in sight, but it's not done. And I don't think any of us feel comforted. We just want to make sure we have a deadline. The Senate Majority Leader said to them personally, this would be done by the August recess. That's August 2nd. So we're going to hold him to that word. It has to be done by August 2nd. It has to be fully funded. And then everyone can exhale and go home.
And, you know, Jon Stewart, this is basically a rounding error on the budget. It's so incredible that for 18 years, John Field and you and others, you know, Carolyn Maloney, who's been heroic from the Hill, and we're expecting her momentarily. She was called back to the floor, I guess, when this vote was delayed.
Yeah.
This is craziness, and if this is only one example, this is the most dramatic, the most emotional. It affects all of us, every American, but there are so many parts of government funding that get screwed this way.
Well, we were on the, you know, even watching the debate for the bill, you know, this has a $10.2 billion over 10 years CBO score. It's a ridiculous amount of money, obviously, on a personal sense, but in a governmental sense, it's nothing. Yet they're still arguing about this pay for, and this is either necessary or it's not, and it's necessary. And to watch a group of individuals running $1 trillion deficit who are throwing tens of billions of dollars at various bailouts at their whim, talk about this bill with fiscal concern over this 10-year period. I was saying to these guys, it's like watching Joey Chestnut bang down 70 hot dogs on July 4th and then turn down a Coke because he's going to have a tab because he's watching his figure. It's nonsense, and it has to stop.
John Field, you know, this has been you've been a reluctant witness to all of this and participant in our government at work or not at work. Yeah. And what message do you draw from all of this? I mean, I remember you testifying, I think you'd been to more than 181 funerals.
Yeah. Well, Louis was 182, and You know, my job, not only as an advocate and a pain in the butt to Congress over the last 15 years, I'm more of an historian now, and I've documented everything. And when that book comes out, there's going to be a lot of shots fired at those in the Senate and those in Congress who failed miserably in protecting yesterday's heroes. They had a moral obligation, and many of them failed. And, you know, let's, you know, people today were talking about, well, we had 300 plus co-sponsors. We had 290 in 2015. I'm not shocked that we had over 300. I predict everything I predicted has come true to this point today. But let's talk about the 100 co-sponsors that aren't on there, the 100 members that aren't. Let's talk about the 27 members in the Senate that aren't on the bill. Let's talk about those who next week, when we hit the Senate, are going to get on board. Well, we're going to make their lives miserable. We're not done fighting. But we want to put our swords away. We want to pick up our rakes and go home and farm. We want to exhale. We want to get rid of D.C. We want to get them out of our system. We want to be left alone. And if Mitch McConnell or anybody in the Senate plays games, then myself, my team, Jon Stewart, we come back and we make their lives miserable. That's what we do. And we're not going to apologize for that. They work for us. I said it yesterday. They're small business owners. Mitch McConnell's in charge of 99 people, and the Speaker's in charge of 434 people. They work for the American people. They work for us. And we're going to get the bang for the buck and make them work for us.
Jon Stewart, just finally, what is your message to Mitch McConnell? Lou Alvarez gave him his shield.
Yeah, you know, wow.
Keep your word. Your word was this passes unattached as a standalone bill, fully funded. No questions anymore. The program works. It's being administrated remarkably well. It's faithful to the statute. It's fair to the claimants, and it's respectful to the taxpayers. There's no fraud. There's no abuse. It's giving relief to those that need it the most. This is like John has plowed the field. Everything's been done. The letter's been written. It's been put in an envelope. The stamp is on it. All the Senate has to do is mail the letter. That's all we're asking them to do. And they should do it by August 2nd, and let's be done with this. Keep your word.
Keep your word. That's the byword. Thank you very much. Jon Stewart,
Thanks.
John Field, thank you so very much. We'll be right back.
Thank you for having us.